Let us start with a general quadratic equation. And we can suppose that the coefficient of x squared, a, is different from 0, because if a were 0, this term would vanish and we would have a linear equation instead of quadratic equation. X here is the variable for the normal variable for the equation. We can think x is a varying variable. And then a, b, and c, they are constants which we don't know, but we treat them as constants. Let us now start solving this equation generally. I'm subtracting c from both sides. Subtract c, a times x squared plus bx equals minus c. Then I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by a, and that is possible because we know that a is different from 0. X squared plus b divided by a times x equals minus c divided by a. I will write this term b divided by a times x in a slightly different way. I'm writing it like 2 times x, so this x is here. I made up this 2, I have to cancel this by writing the rest like b divided by 2 times a. Now if you multiply all these things together, this number 2 goes up to the numerator and it can be cancelled with this number 2, and we have x times b divided by a, which is exactly this term. Then here we have x squared plus 2 times x times something. If we had the square of this something added here, we might be able to factorize this left-hand side. So let us add to both sides b divided by 2 times a squared. Okay, and now on the left hand side we have x squared, and here we have this b divided by 2a squared, and here in the middle we have 2 times this x times this 2, this expression. So this can be factorized using one of those binomial formulae, and this will be x plus b divided by 2a squared, and that equals b divided by 2a squared minus c divided by a. And because this something to the second power equals this expression, we can solve these by taking square roots of the right hand side. So x plus b divided by 2a equals plus or minus square root of b divided by 2a squared minus c divided by a. And we can simplify this expression and see what we get. Okay, if we continue, x plus b divided by 2a equals plus or minus square root of, if we expand this second power, we get b squared divided by 4a squared minus c divided by a. Let's expand this latter term so that we can do the subtraction. By 4a, and we get b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 4a squared. Now let us take the square root of the rational expression separately. X plus b divided by 2a equals plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by, if we take square root of this, square root of 4 is 2, and actually square root of a squared is the absolute value of a plus or minus a, but because we here have the plus and minus signs, we don't need to bother about that, so the denominator is 2a. Now we can solve x. We can subtract b divided by 2a from both sides. So we have minus b divided by 2a plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2a. And if we add these two together, we get a formula for solving x. It's minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2 times a. And here we have solved the general quadratic equation. And using this formula, we can solve any quadratic equation, thus, by looking at what are the coefficients a, b, and c in the equation. So we have derived the formula for solving quadratic equations.